I don't remember what episode of the podcast or show. I'm gonna start calling it a show. We want it to
I
be a
believe
show.
it's 7. But I'm
Is it
pull it
7?
up for you. I'm gonna pull it up for you.
I think
Oh,
it might
there
be
it
8.
is.
Episode 8.
Is 7.
Lucky number 7.
Oh yeah.
My wife's back on episode 7. Alright guys, long time no talk. It's been April? Yeah, I think April. I wrote or put out a quick podcast updating on 2020. It's been a doozy. We're now in August, so yeah, almost 5 full months difference, but we're back together and we're going to do a quick podcast video show. We're going to do a quick show for you. So what's the topic? There's a video from YouTube and YouTube Dave Ramsey show, and the video is titled, and I'll write it above our head. What's the title, babe?
Hold on.
The video is called
Is it absolutely critical to have a separate bank account even when you're married?
And we're going to give our input on that. We both rewatched the video just now, or listened to,
Yes.
and yeah, we'll give our perspective. So, stay tuned. Let me holla at you, episode 7. Let's get it. So we just watched this video, babe.
Yes.
And I've watched like Dave Ramsey YouTube stuff for years now, but I don't know if you've ever watched it.
Is he Dave Ramsey?
No, so she's never watched
so
it.
I know who it is then, because I thought it was
Who is it?
the older white guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Total
But I
Money
was just
Makeover.
like, is that him?
You might, yeah. So YouTube them, Google them. Some useful perspective information out there. Financially, we've been blessed to have a marriage almost 4 full years now, and we've been together.
14.
Yeah, I was gonna comment about separation, but it don't matter. We've been together 14 years,
14.
and lots of learning and growing throughout that time, but especially now that we've been married. So we're going to talk about finances in this video. What's your perspective, babe? Like, is it a necessity to have separate bank accounts?
Now, see, I grew up on, like, both my parents have separate bank accounts.
Yeah.
And my parents are divorced, but they are remarried, and both of them still have a separate bank account.
Right.
And it's like, I can see both sides to it, like,
Yeah.
why I feel like it's good to have, like, a separate bank account, and then why it's also a good thing to share a bank account. But, so, like, how we have it right now, we're joined. So I feel like we're good right now because we're helping, like, each other besides pay the bill. What was I going to say? We're lowering our credit, or not lowering, increasing our credit score.
Paying off stuff.
Paying off.
Being responsible adults. Taking care of debt.
Yes, basically.
Yeah.
Like, we're helping each other with our debt.
Yeah.
That's the right way to say it. So,
I wouldn't say it that way.
you wouldn't say we're helping each other with our debt?
No, I'm just saying we're taking care of business.
I mean, yeah, but this is about finance, so...
Yeah, we're taking care of business.
Okay.
So when we first moved in with one another, and this is, I guess, a quick recap. We came in from 2 separate households, 2 separate debts. I had graduated college. She had graduated with her bachelor's, but she was still attending school for a master's at the time. And I wasn't at my current position as far as employment, but she was at her current employer, but not in her current position. And in short, we had the same mindset, like separate accounts, split everything down the middle, and it worked out. We were good roommates for a while, and I proposed like less than a year of us living together. We got married. We'll talk just on the perspective of being married, because I don't want to go through the whole thing. But once we got married, she gave her perspective of growing up, of having the household being with separate bank accounts. I don't know what my mom and stepdad did at that time. I just know stuff got. We didn't lack, and at the end of the day, that's what I knew. But growing up now, it's like I'm a firm believer in if we're married, it's together, like together.
We're one.
And to be quite frank, we didn't always agree on that.
No.
Because
some things came up.
Yeah, some things
some
came up.
arguments.
And we learned some things about one another. And all I can say is, from the perspective of the goal of marriage for me is to, number one, be fruitful and give to the world, have a child, or not necessarily have a child, but exhibit things that I think that I wanted to see growing up, which is a strong relationship between the male and the female. That's and this is no bias for anybody out there who has different preferences, but basically do well by one another, do well by yourself, and leave some type of example for those behind you. And financial is like a hard conversation.
Yes.
Hard conversation. So
especially for me.
So we want to talk about.
We
want to talk about. What do you remember from the quick? It's like a 7-minute video. What do you remember from it?
So I remember what he said basically about he read like a letter that somebody had. It was a journalism.
Yeah, it was like MSNBC wrote that basically, and I'll possibly put a clip in that basically women should. Women, I don't want to call them women boss, but that was kind of the vibe of the whole article, that
women should have their own bank accounts.
Right.
Because in the end of divorce, women are the ones that's usually screwed. It's
Yeah,
how they basically summed it up.
I definitely don't see it that way, but that's how the article was written.
I mean, yeah, but that is how the article was written. I see where you're coming from, because it's like most of the time the woman gets all the guy's money, and then they get the kids, and sometimes they get the house too.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you don't see how they're short on money, but they talking about the moms that are stay-at-home moms and don't have extra income coming in.
Yeah.
So I mean, they should have a separate bank account because of that. And those are the ones I do believe should have a separate bank account. But it's hard when you don't do anything. Well, I don't want to say it like that, but
you already said it.
I know, but I don't want to say it like that.
Okay.
It's just you don't have an income coming in, and it's only one income paying for everything in the house, and you're basically depending on your spouse, whether it's husband or wife. I'm not gonna say which, because nowadays they're stay-at-home dads.
Right. We'll just talk about us, husband and wife.
Yeah. So
at some point, she's going to be a stay-at-home mom when we have our children. Up until she goes back after having our children. We're not pregnant.
Well, that's maternity leave, but
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Back on topic. So I can understand why you would say they should have a separate bank account or an emergency fund, and that's basically how my mom explained it to me. You should always have a separate account just in case. Now, her scenarios or examples were slightly different, because it was oh, well, in case, don't hope this on anybody, identity theft, or if your spouse overdrafts a lot, then it's you have a backup, or you have an emergency account that they don't know about, but you'll just dip in that to help pay your bills or cover the late fee, or, when you overdraft, that fee.
Overdraft fee.
Oh, duh. Overdraft fee.
I think getting to the end of this, it's people are going to do what they're going to do, but the reason we had this video is we're going to talk about what we've learned in our 4 years of marriage, and talking about finances. So in the beginning, as I mentioned, it was split. We were joined once we got married. The biggest point where we were sharing finances and we were sharing financial responsibility. I think for me, it was easy to see the numbers because I'm a numbers guy, but it was hard to express the empathy from my wife that I can't just talk about numbers, because there's more to life than just numbers, right? So I had to learn that, yeah, it is numbers, but there's always, unless, you guys are blessed to have equal income, there's always one that makes $1 more than the other. that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because you guys have come together. And I think it wasn't a revolutionary thing. We always knew we were together, but sometimes my tone of voice wasn't speaking in such a way, and it was, I'm going to say, demeaning to the relationship. And to open up a few other things, we decided to have not only just a joint account, but a joint information book where we can see each other's accounts, we can pay each other's bills, and we just have access to the knowledge of the financial situation. There were a couple times where I think I bought things and not basically informed my wife, which I'm not going to say you always have to, like, every single dollar has to be, hey, this is what I bought. But when you're on a budget, I think it's important to know what's on the budget. And we haven't really strictly followed a budget up until this point, but we're loosely following one. But there was a situation in our relationship where I was making my wife uncomfortable with purchasing things on her own, and it was kind of like secretive. And I think it was like, oh man, let me take a step back and see how I'm talking, what I'm doing, the vibes that I'm giving off that, keeps her from being comfortable with me and whatever she wants to buy, because she's a grown woman too. But that's one thing I would just caution anybody to pay attention to, not only from, the perspective of me giving off a vibe that maybe made her uncomfortable or vice versa, but also on the side of, hey, if you feel like you want to buy something but you feel like you need to hide it, like I've had times where I wanted to go buy something to eat, but it was like, man, I don't want to call her, then I gotta bring her something. That's mostly just like laziness and not wanting to wait to eat. I just want to go eat right now so I can just get it done.
It's not selfish at all. You know, when
yeah,
give me nothing at the same time.
It's not that, it's just I be ready, and sometimes you don't be ready. You like, I don't know what they got. Let me see the menu, and it's like I knew what I wanted. I just wanted to go grab it and enjoy myself. But at the end of the day, those are things that you go through in a marriage. Some of the things you may or may not go through. So to end this video off, I think I would like to give 3 things, and we can collectively come up with it. And this is on the spot. We didn't rehearse any of this. It's just to give our perspective as a couple, she's yoga, he's fit, business owners, and inspiring others to do well by themselves and find wellness in their own way. Shameless plug there. But also just young, black, opinionated, strong, ambitious individuals. And when it comes to money, what's one thing? You give one, I give one, and then we'll give one.
One thing when it comes to money in marriage.
Money in marriage. What's your individual contribution?
Work as a team. You want me to elaborate more? You said give a one thing, so I was ready with the one. You can elaborate
if you want. You got 60 seconds.
Oh, excuse me. Work as a team when it comes to everything in your marriage. Not just like stuff around the house, your financing, your marriage, your children, life. Like, work as a team. Because you're a team. It's 100 and 100, not 50-50. Don't split anything. Don't do it. Alright, my second over.
Now, Mike, I don't even know what I want to say. I've kind of already spoke on this, but just taking a step back and thinking about the ultimate goal. Like, if there is anything that you guys or as individual aspire to have, I think it's only one life that we're blessed to have. So, hey, I want these Jordans. I'm going to see how much they cost. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to buy them as long as, the bills paid, responsibilities are met, it's in the budget, you do that. If it's a house, how much you need to have as a down payment, what you're comfortable with, all those things. So plan, follow a budget, but basically just have a goal in mind. Living day to day can be dangerous because it can take you any type of way, but when you have some direction that you're going, I think it's important. And collectively we're gonna come up with one together. One together.
Wait, so what was yours?
Have a budget.
Oh, okay.
Or a goal. Like always be spending towards something that's planned.
Okay. I had one, but I lost the train of thought. So
it's okay.
I gotta.
We can
rewind.
Bounce off one another for this.
Okay, what you got in mind?
I think one thing that the guy said in the video was like the way that the tone of the finances was made him feel like he didn't even want to get married. And it's like it was a certain point during our relationship where I was like, man, so I kind of spoke about it. Because there's so many
divorces that ends because of financing.
Right. And like I spoke about
finances.
You know how you wanted the tattoo or whatever you bought, and I said whatever I said, but at the end of the day, it was like the response from it was basically, well, maybe I need to have my own money because I feel like I can't do what I want to do with my, and that's not true. But at the end of the day, if we didn't like sit down and say, okay, this is the budget, then the money is what it is as long as the bills are paid. But if we're on the same page, hey, I want to save up for this, cool, then that's what it is, opposed to, hey, I want to save up for this. And I don't think you should do that. Like, that was my immediate response, and I don't think that's correct, but.
So, communicating?
That's going to be our joint one.
About your finances? So, you're spending money?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, to be honest, you know that you don't have to communicate like, oh, I'm buying groceries today. Oh, I'm buying, like, an outfit or something. It's like little, I mean, unless you're a shopaholic about shoes.
I guess I'm a shopaholic about shoes.
and other expensive items. Those are the only ones I'd be like, oh, you might want to tell your spouse, like, oh, I'm about to buy about 5 Jordans. And then you guys can discuss whether they should buy those 5 Jordans or not. Just FYI. But also, I wanted to ask you a question.
So obviously, she's giving you guys examples about things I've done in the past. She ain't complained when I bought her no Jordans.
You just told me. I was just saying, you tell them when you're about to buy something like that. And you told me. After you bought it, but you told me. I mean, I wasn't mad anyway. But it was a topic that was on Facebook. And I wanted to ask you this because it was like, it's about financing. In a relationship, does one spouse spend more or pay more of the bills than the other? So most ladies said that their man pay all the house bills and they just have to pay for groceries and taking care of the kid, and that's their responsibility. I just want to know how you feel about that. And I mean, we don't have kids.
Set your own arrangements within your own household. Our arrangement currently is what it is. It might change in the future, but it's basically put the money in the pot, look at the responsibilities, take care of the responsibilities, and be mindful of your spending. And that's pretty much that. There's no allotment for you take care of these utilities, these expenses, either or, nothing like that. I don't have a suggestion on it, mainly because it's like I've seen it done and I understand why people do it, but I don't think it's necessary if all the money's the same at the end of the day. Like if I was to die, I know how much life insurance I have. I know how much is written out to her. That's just money to me. If she was to pass, I don't know that information, but I'm pretty sure there's some stuff that's written somewhere that I just don't know it. But the short version of it is, it's just money to me, so I don't have any suggestions on that. Like, whatever works for your relationship, but talk about it. So communication, that's our final thing, that's our closing thing. Yeah, we were going to keep this one short, guys. You know, it wasn't planned, so we're not going to ramble. We just wanted to share some of our thoughts with a recent, conversation, and I think it's a good conversation to have, especially this day and age, while everyone's at home, unless you're, essential. It may not change too much for you. You're having these conversations with your spouse or with your significant other or your potential girlfriend, boyfriend. Money is a thing, and you earn what you earn, but at the end of the day, gotta take care of business. So You want to say anything before I do my outro?
Be free to go.
I don't have a particular outro. Thank you guys for joining us. Be blessed and stay safe.